Okay. So, all right. So the government's going to throw another $1 trillion. Well, the Republicans want a trillion. The Democrats want $3 trillion. We're already spent like 10 trillion we took out of the government. Now we're going to get up to like 14, 15 trillion. Now, if Biden gets in, he's already come up with a $3 or $4 trillion package. If he starts working on slavery reparations, which is going to happen eventually, that's another, I think it was quoted as $140 trillion. Trillion. Okay. Remember, not that long ago, maybe even as long as maybe a year ago, not even that long ago, they were screaming and yelling about something called, and you may have heard this word, the deficit. The deficit. I think there's a thing up in Times Square where it actually shows how much the government owes, and it just keeps, the numbers keep going. I mean, right now we're borrowing at 0% interest. So it's like free money. But eventually that's going to go up. And who do we owe this money to? The deficit means, let me explain to you what a deficit means. All right. Let's say you make $1,000 a week, all right, in your pocket, net $1,000 a week, but your mortgage is $80,000 a week. All right. You have a deficit. You can't afford to pay your mortgage, basically. So what do? You borrow money to be able to pay that $80,000 a week mortgage. Right? And you pay interest on that money. So really $80,000 a week, you're probably paying more like $85,000 a week, just making up numbers. I'm not going to get into the math. It's too complicated for even me. People always assume you're an accountant, you're good at math. They give us calculators. And the more you use a calculator, the more you are shitty at math because you're relying on the calculator. It's like looking up stuff on Google. Hey, you must be really smart. You're an English teacher. No, I just Google stuff. Google does it. A calculator does it. Anyway, I went off topic. So we have a deficit. We have a deficit in the country. Now, what does the government do with our money? Right? What does it do? We give our money to the government, right? You give your federal tax money, your Social Security money, and to the states, you give your state money. That's why when you gross $1,000, you go home with 600 because $400 a week of your money goes to the government. Just making up numbers at this point. All right. What do they do with it? Where does it go? Take a look. There's a pie. There is a pie chart on where the government spends our money, where the government does with our money. Most of that is entitlements. Now, what that is Social Security and Medicare payments to seniors who have retired. Now, when the whole Social Security program started, and I love my liberal friends who love to throw FDR was a socialist, Social Security is a socialist program. You're right, it is. It got us out of the Depression. It was needed. And it also protected the elder class from when they retire, they'll have money to live on. But it wasn't government money. The government didn't print money. This is your money. You've been paying it in. You pay for your Social Security. You don't just retire and the government gives you money. The government gives you back the money that you put in to their system, interest free. Now, a couple of years ago, there was a big thing to privatize Social Security, and everybody went out of their minds. And I'll tell you why. Because if you privatize Social Security, the government doesn't control your money. You see, then you control your money. That's why you have things like 401ks and IRAs to control your own investments in your money for when you retire so you have money to live on. Now, going back to FDR, when they made the rule that 65 years old you retire, the average age of people was maybe 68, 70. So the government only had to worry about paying people for like 4 or 5 years average. Some even died before they were 65. That means the government got to keep all their money, unless there's a surviving spouse, and there's rules for that, where they get either half or theirs, which one's higher. They don't get both, so somebody loses and the government wins. So they get to keep the money that you put into the system all those years. So the largest part of the government pie is entitlements, which is money paid out for Social Security and Medicare for people that retire. But now what's happened since the days of FDR in the 30s and 40s? People are living longer. People are living well into their 70s and even 80s. I think the average age might be like 76 now. So it went from like 68 to 76. That's 9, 10 more years, 9 or 10 more years of entitlements, payouts from the government. So now all the baby boomer generation, because whenever there was a war and they came back from the war and they had sex with their wives and they made babies, there was no protection. They didn't believe in protection. These were all Catholics. They went by the rhythm method. And the rhythm method is like you have sex when you think it's safe to have sex where there won't be a baby on the way. You know what happened with the rhythm method? People had 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 kids. So all these baby boomers, and I'm in that generation, I'm at the end of it. All these baby boomers are now reaching retirement age and they're knocking on the government's door and say, hello, give me my money. And the government goes, we spent it. You spent my money? That's my money. What'd you spend it on? Bullshit. Programs. Programs to see how long the African swallow could survive in the desert. Bullshit programs. Programs on protecting the environment in Lake Titicaca. They just wasted our money. So now they had to borrow money. They had to borrow money so they could pay off those entitlements. Entitlement. Think of that word, entitlement. You are entitled to that money. The government made a contract with you that when you reach that age, you get your money. Now they got too many old people. The entitlement pool is fucking broke because now we got to borrow money from China to pay off those entitlements because we wasted the money because your government is the worst financial disaster in the history of time. So now they got to borrow money. And who they borrow from? China, Japan, Europe, everywhere. And now China says, hey, hello, we want our money back. What happened? They could call the note. It's like what they're in the bank and a mortgage. They're like, we want our money now. If China ever asks for their money, we are freaking screwed. But they're not. They're not going to ask for our money because they know that they got us by the balls. That's the problem is the whole world has got us by the balls. They know that we're on the brink of bankruptcy. And this stupid ass government that keeps making packages of trillions and trillions of dollars under the guise of health safety, which is a nice thing to put a little umbrella. We got an umbrella for the safety of the health of the country. See, that's perfect because who can argue with that? That's like Black Lives Matter. If you don't say Black Lives Matter, are you saying Black lives don't matter? Then you're a racist. You see, this is all emotional. Everything is based on emotions. They just want to play to your emotions. And people are just getting sucker punched. And luckily, I'm 62. I'm at an age where my retirement money is still safe. But anybody under 50, good luck. You're in a lot of trouble because they keep making more package, another 14 trillion, another 80 trillion, another 140 trillion, just print more money. And you know what happens when you print money? The value of the money goes down. Simple supply and demand. If you make 80,000 CDs, if Bruce Springsteen put out 80,000 CDs and sold 8,000, what do you think is going to happen to the price of his CD? He wants to get rid of them. It's going to go down. So now the value of the dollar goes down. And then we can't trade. Now we're on a shitty playing field with the rest of the world. And next thing you know, America's not a world power anymore. That's what we're getting to. America is very close to no longer being a world power. And as long as we keep printing money and throwing money into the pool, we're going to lose our status. We're going to lose our credit rating. We're going to lose everything. And countries like China is just sitting back waiting because they're the next world power. This has been going on. It used to be Britain, right? Britain was a world power. Then the United States came in. We got our independence from Britain and we became a world power. And how did we do that? Through industrialization, through building, manufacturing, creating products, and becoming a country that was good to do business with. We're going to get to a point where we're not a good country to do business with. And it's getting closer. And if we keep doing these spendings, it's we're going to lose. We're going to lose. I'm not going to lose. I'm okay. I got my 401k. I got my house. I got investments. I've got my Social Security. But if you're under 50, you better keep your eyes open because they're fucking with you and they're stealing your money and you're going to end up broke, poor, and probably homeless. So wake up a little bit. Get your head out of your ass. Wake up. End of rant.